Donald Trump has explicitly confirmed what many people have suspected, which is that the impeachment inquiry into President Biden is political retribution for Trump's own impeachments, and early data in battleground states show that swing voters are not happy about that. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. Maybe check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate the support. All right, folks, we've got several clips we got to play here. Okay, this is the first one, again, from this ongoing content creation machine, this interview between Donald Trump and conservative commentator Megyn Kelly, in which the topic turns to the impeachment inquiry against the president, President Biden.
Nancy Pelosi, crazy Nancy, said, we're going to impeach him. They didn't do inquiries. They went out and they voted because they had the votes. And as usual, everybody votes, for the Democrats. It's a little bit easier. They didn't have Mitt Romneys of the world, and that's really nice because now he's not running today, as you know. He just announced. I think that's great for the Republican Party, for the country, and for Utah. But that's going to be up to them whether or not they want to do it. I have no idea whether they will or not. We do have a lot of other things, but it's quite important, and they did it to me. And had they not done it to me, I think, and nobody officially said this, but I think had they not done it to me, and I'm very popular in the, they like me and I like them, the Republican Party, perhaps you wouldn't have it being done to them. And this is going to happen with indictments too. They have fake indictments, and I think you're going to see that as time goes by. You're going to see Republicans, when they're in power, doing it. And it's a shame when that happens. I'm not in favor of that, but that's what's going to happen because that's human nature.
So, first things first, he gives the game away. Everybody basically suspected this in the first place, but it's good that even a pathologically lying narcissist like Donald Trump basically comes out and says, yeah, the truth is too obvious. The reason that they're doing this is because it was done to me, and it's tit for tat. Now, the interesting thing, too, not only does that undermine the credibility and impartiality of the impeachment inquiry into President Biden, not that there was much of one to begin with, but the lie at the very end of that clip, which Donald Trump is like, it's also going to happen with the indictments. Not that I want that. I don't want that, but that's just human nature. We've played clips on this channel in the past 3 weeks where Donald Trump has actually openly called on the Republican Party to do just that, to engage in that sort of tit for tat in terms of prosecution. We're going to play a couple just as a refresher.
91 fake and phony charges, 91. How many charges are there? But we're going to ask for dismissals of a lot of it. Most of it is just, you ask for dismissal. It's called dismiss the charges. But remember, it's a Democrat charging his opponent. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. That means that if I win and somebody wants to run against me, I call my attorney general. I say, listen, indict him. Well, he hasn't done anything wrong that we know of. I don't know. Indict him on income tax evasion. You'll figure it out.
That was from about a week ago, all right? But there's more. This was from an announcement on Truth Central with Donald Trump effectively calling for the same thing.
I hope that Republican district attorneys and attorney generals throughout the country are closely watching the tremendous weaponization of justice that is being utilized against me. There's never been anything like it. But you ought to watch, and frankly, it's an eye for an eye, or it's fight fire with fire. What they're doing to our country is amazing. So Republicans, I hope you watch it.
So that's Donald Trump debunking Donald Trump in real time. Donald Trump lied. This is exactly what he wants. He does believe in tit for tat. He does believe in retribution. It's the basis for the impeachment inquiry against President Biden, and he's also wanting to weaponize the Department of Justice if he becomes the president again. And then he's calling on district attorneys and attorneys general, not attorney generals, attorneys general who are Republican or conservative, to engage in acts of political retribution across the country and go after his political enemies, even if they have to manufacture the basis by which to do so. But even if all that weren't enough, it's also being corroborated by other Republican leaders, like, for example, Ronna McDaniel, who, by the way, fun piece of trivia, this is Mitt Romney's niece. You know how Donald Trump was smack-talking Mitt Romney in the Megyn Kelly clip? Well, this is Mitt Romney's niece. She is the chairperson, the chairwoman of the Republican National Committee. She is basically, at least on paper, responsible for getting Republicans elected or reelected. And this is what she has to say on the impeachment inquiry against President Biden.
Sorry.
I was going to ask about
Before we
lose her, because they're trying to push some the impeachment inquiry that House Speaker McCarthy is going to push forward today. Do you think that helps Republicans?
I think he's right on. I think Kevin's right on. I think our voters are sick and tired of Republicans getting attacked all the time through the courts, through whatever, and it's time to go after Biden. When you see 22 LL.
It's time to go after Biden. She says the voters are sick and tired of it. What's interesting is there's actually some data to suggest otherwise. Perhaps Republican voters, like committed base Republicans, MAGA cultists, are for it. But the voters that they need to win the election, at least the initial data suggests they're not happy with this. This is a report in Axios. Focus groups in Pennsylvania swing state voters see the Republicans targeting Biden as retaliation. We're going to play a clip here in a second. Pennsylvania swing voters thirst for more bipartisan cooperation within Congress, and they're not getting it, said Rich Thau, president of Engagius, who moderated the focus group. Instead, with this impeachment inquiry, they're complaining about another cycle of political retribution. So I want to play a clip from this focus group. We're not going to play the whole thing, but again, to corroborate, the swing voters are not happy about this.
And I think the Republicans are just trying to get back at the Democrats.
By show of figures, how many of you think that's what's actually going on? The Republicans are just going after the Democrats the way the Democrats are going after Republicans? How many of you agree with Fred? So all of you think that that's what's going on? It's a tit for tat situation?
Exactly.
Pissing contest.
A pissing.
I want to draw your attention here real quick. What's interesting is this woman in the middle, Alyssa, later on in this focus group, when the topic turns to the 14th Amendment and, for example, disqualifying President Trump from office based on the 14th Amendment, she actually opposes it because she doesn't think Donald Trump engaged in insurrection. So she's actually a Trump sympathizer. This is a really good focus group in terms of people who are not like never Trumpers. She thinks it's preposterous. She's like, no, Donald Trump didn't engage in insurrection. He's not responsible for what happened. He said, go, march peacefully. And yet even she thinks, this Trump sympathizing swing voter, that, yeah, this is just a naked tit for tat trying to avenge themselves on the Democrats.
Contest. This action by Speaker McCarthy did not go over well with swing voters. None of them think that President Biden has done anything in office that merits being removed from office. By a show of fingers, among all of you, who thinks there should be an impeachment inquiry of President Biden?
All right, folks, there you have it. I mean, again, this is early on. We'll see what the data shows. And there's no question that, generally speaking, the GOP has a very sophisticated and relatively effective propaganda machine between Fox News and their surrogates and the alternate media like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, et cetera, and so forth. But right now, the majority of Americans, and again, in these crucial swing states like Pennsylvania, even sympathetic voters are just not having it. They think this is nakedly partisan, it's nakedly political, and there's no basis for it, and they don't think President Biden should be impeached. So with any luck, this will backfire spectacularly on Donald Trump and the GOP.